I'd rather create something that others criticise than create nothing and criticise others.
If you have high quality product behind the bar, it's like a weapon.
It's not about the figures, it's about who those figures are.
The Hospodpreneurs Podcast.
I'm going to drink this beer.
Yeah, let's crack 'em.
With James Henderson.
Hello and welcome to episode 59 of the Hospodpreneurs Podcast. This is a special salvaged episode from over 12 months ago. We encountered what we thought it was an insurmountable tech issue and have only recently been able to solve it. So because of this, it's not the tightest production, but I guarantee that doesn't mean any shortage of magic that comes out. So it's an absolute pleasure to be able to share my interview with Tony Kitous, founder of Comptoir Libanais, a UK-based restaurant chain that at the time of recording was undergoing an international expansion. They're already in Holland and were rolling out in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, both concurrently while Tony was releasing his book, Feasts from the Middle East. We explore some of the strategies Tony applied for effective international expansion and how he's established an homogenous culture across his businesses. We also look at ways to identify a good site and how Tony's business philosophy has been guided by his family and cultural heritage. Hello and welcome to the show, Tony.
Hello.
So Tony, I like to start the show by asking if you have a crazy hospitality story.
Well, James, what do I begin? For me, hospitality started since I was a kid, whether at home, whether in my restaurants or houses. I think the biggest or the first one, and the one that still my mom rubs on me. Once my mom prepared a huge dinner for guests to come home, and she prepared so many different dishes, some sweets, some cakes. And as a little kid, what I've done, I just went and sneaked in the kitchen. I don't know what I was doing, what I was thinking. And I called some friends of mine and says, "Oh, let's meet around the corner from my house." And I took all the food out. I said, "Let's do a picnic." And by the time my mom comes back to the kitchen and the guests arrived, there was no food. My mom didn't understand what was happening. It was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to my mom. But up till today, I was like 8 years old, 7 years old. I'm talking about food for like 20 people. I was taking a big thing. I think that was the most crazy hospitality thing. Probably she's still, whenever she gets the chance, she tells me, you're the most devilish son I ever had. And obviously to do something like this for me, she would never said to me, I would never forget. I think that, but of course, in the restaurant, we have a lot of different stories. But yeah, that's probably, I would say,
that's awesome.
The craziest story. My mom cooking all day, bless her. By the time she comes to the kitchen, no food is there at all.
Well, thank you for that story, Tony. The next thing that it's interesting that it came about from a story about your home and when you're a little kid. Most of the stories that we've heard have been revolving around sort of weird or wonderful things that even patrons have done. So thanks for that story about something that you did as a child, taking your mum's cooking. But my next question I'd like to ask you, Tony, is why you do what you do.
Okay. It's a very, very, very difficult question to answer, because I often ask myself, what's keeping me going? Because certainly, look, I'm a guy, for the people that know me, I've never been inspired by making money. It wasn't never been my goal. It's not my goal. And I just always tell people, I must love what I'm doing. Otherwise, I would not be doing it. In 30 years, I've been in London. I can tell you, I was working 14, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, the equivalent 5 hours a week. And if you multiply that in 30 years, that means in 30 years, I did 6 years worth of work in 30 years. I just love what I do. I really, really love what I do. I love greeting people. I love receiving people. My restaurants, they're like a home. That's how I like to receive people. It's like we're entertaining at home. And definitely, there is a sense, I'm the oldest, and there's I read something once, some elder son syndrome. For me, I think there's a sense of responsibility. There is, and I'm the oldest of 7 brothers. And my mother, she's amazing. Every mother is amazing, I must say. My mother, obviously, I have to say, every mother is special. My mom is special for her unique reasons. She brought up 7 kids, and she was deaf. She can't hear at all. And I think she inspires me. She's the one who inspires me. Of course, my parents, my dad as well, both my parents. Unfortunately, my dad is not here with us today. I wish he is, to see what he's done, because I don't see it. It's me. Everything we do. By the way, I'm talking to you, James. But if I talk about my restaurants, I'm talking on behalf of my team. I'm not just. It's not me. It's a whole team effort, and that team started from my parents. If that makes sense, they made me who I am today. So they really give me an inspirations. But it's much more nowadays for me. It's not just a restaurant. I see myself in the world we live in. I see myself as an ambassador for our food, for our culture, because unfortunately, very sadly, what people see about our culture, whether it's in BBC News, Sky News, or CNN, that is not where our culture is one of the most generous cultures you can ever come across. I am here talking to you, but it feels very weird for me on talking to you on podcast. If it was in my place, if I was in your place, we'd have a lot of food on the table.
Yes.
This is how we greet people. This is how we receive people. It does not matter. I was talking to some friends of mine from the British Lebanese Association. There's always people that are very much volunteer all their lives. I went to a refugee camp the other day. Some people didn't even have enough to eat. And when they went to visit them, they put food. They didn't have a table. They put food on the floor. And the guy was very uncomfortable. So they were getting offended because we didn't eat. This is how hospitality is in our culture. Everybody, doesn't matter who, will give you food, will greet you with food. And this is how and food bring us together. And that's what I like to. That's what I feel. I said that for me, I like to promote our culture. I like to promote our food. I like people to understand it. And to be very honest, our food. I love all kind of foods. I love eating Italian food, French food, Thai food, Indian food, Chinese, all kind of food. But however, there's certain foods you can't eat on a daily basis. I can't eat Indian food as much as I would love to eat Indian food every day. I can't. Or Chinese food or Thai food. I really love it. But a lot of people eat Italian food on a daily basis. And my goal is I want to make Lebanese food and Middle Eastern food accessible, understood. People eat it comfortably to the point they eat it the way they eat Italian food today. I want Lebanese food to become as popular as Italian food is today. And
Yes.
I hear in Australia you have a very cool and funky Lebanese community. I have a lot of friends there.
Yes.
And there's I have also a very close friend of mine, Dan Leopard. I don't know if you heard of him. Dan is Australian guy. He's London. Very good friend of mine. I did 2 books previously. He was my co-author. He's a very close friend of mine. He's the godfather of bread making in the UK. He did the Great Australian Bake Off. He kept telling me, Tony, you must go out there. You're going to love it. You must go out there and open something. I said, look, as much as I love to go in Australia and check out the dining scene, because they have very diverse dining scene, and there's a lot of Lebanese restaurants I love to visit. It's a little bit too far. But yeah, I mean, obviously, for us, it's all about hospitality. It's about receiving people. It's about greeting them. It's about, making them feel welcome in our home. That's how it feels for me anyway.
So tell us a little bit more about what you do now. Now that we've sort of opened up why, can you tell us a bit about what you do?
Okay. It's I do everything, James, to be very honest. Anything to do with the food, anything to do with the design, anything to do with promoting our, and I do it. When I open a restaurant, I look at the space, I look at the location. Is it interesting for us? Is there enough people going there? Because obviously we like to be surrounded by good neighbors who is there. And if we think that restaurant responds to the criteria of what we're looking for, nice room, high ceiling, interesting character features about the space. And to be honest, it's like a connection. It's like chemistry between me and the location. I look at it and say, wow, I love this space. I love the ceiling. I can do this. I can do this. Before I leave the space, I know exactly how it's going to look like. And then I, go with my architect, sit down, do the floor plan. And then the rest, I dress it up. I start designing in my head. We make new tiles. The tiles that are handmade. We do screens. We do brass tables. And then what I do, all this in my head, what we can do, and then we go to Morocco, to Lebanon, and trying to help artisans, supporting them by giving them all those jobs. And that's how that's what we do. That's how it is with restaurant. And obviously, everything we do, we buy locally as well about certain things, but we also support artisans in our region. I travel all over the Middle East regularly. Maybe I'm out of the country 20 times a year to do that. Also, I spend a lot of time with our team. For us, our team is our family. They are the sometimes I go to the team and tell them, our guests come for you. They don't come for anything else. They are the one that make the food. You are the one that receive them. So sit down with them, look at new menus. If someone always trying to get, the team says, oh, anything that you remember your mom used to make you. I don't always invite myself, any of the team. I do that in travel as well. If their mother is here, I said, I'd love to try your mom's food. I always do that. There's a food element. And of course, then the rest is, I love to all the time. It is an element, I would call it promoting our culture in various ways. In various ways, we can.
Obviously supporting the ecosystem as well. So supporting, as you said, the artisans and everything from the artisans back in the Middle East down all the way through to the architects for the venues. So that's really interesting, and I want to open up a little bit more about the conversation where you said what the venue is going to look like before you even build it.
Yeah, no, it's like if I come up with a new dish, it's exactly the same. When I was doing when I create a new dish or I come out a new dish, at the end of the day, people tell me, where did the design come from? Who created it? If I talk about the design, I didn't create anything. I put things together. And for example, it's the same with a new dish. When I have an idea about food, about a new dish, I know what ingredients I'm going to use in my head, and once I decide which ingredients I'm going to use, I know exactly how the dish is going to taste like. It's exactly the same as the design. I know which color tiles, I know which pattern, I know table, I know the floor, I know the lighting, I know the graphics, I know exactly how it's going to, in my head, I know exactly how it's going to look. I don't know how you call it. And that's, I think they've been doing this for a long time. And
yes. Well, I think about it as it's just using a different medium to convey creative ideas. It's just using a different way to explain the ideas that you have in your head, whether it's through colors or design or flavor. Totally just different mediums.
100%. And if we go back to design a little bit, for me, a lot of people say, where did these ideas came from? I said, to be honest, it didn't come from anywhere. It's ideas that I lived. When I was a kid, I lived them, I felt them, I saw them, I smelled them, I played with them. It's through my childhood back home, whether it's my grandparents' home or whether it's in the villages, whether it's in the seaside, whether through my travels. It's like I have a memory bank. It's everything is in my head. And if anything, it's almost someone collecting furniture thing. And one day he opens the Pandora box and uses them. And this is how it is for me. Because if you come into any of my restaurants and you point your finger at anything, I'll tell you, James, everything here has a meaning and has a story. Just point your finger at anything. Your line shade that said, like, it reminds me my grandparents' home when they had the colonial shades, glass shades with colors and patterns. If you look at the tiles, I tell you, this reminds me of Morocco, Tunisia, Lebanon, Syria, Algeria. The tiles in the kitchen, in the courtyard, in the bathrooms, everything has a thing. The brass tables that are handmade, and everything has meaning for me. And if you look at the harissa tins, this chili sauce tins that is in the middle where we put our cutlery, meaning for me, one of the most memorable meaning, because as a little kid, I didn't have much money. I can walk into a restaurant. They have harissa tins there with a spoon full of harissa, a basket of bread, a bit of water. I walk into a restaurant with no money. I just put some bread and harissa, eat it, some water, and then walk out. Everything has a story, has a meaning for me. And our restaurant is very, for me, is I like it to be storytelling. I like it to be a real experience. It's like transporting you somewhere. You're traveling with us, and
Yes.
that's how it is. And if our restaurant is a person, that has a soul, he loves what they're doing, genuine, it's colorful, it's passionate. That's how I describe our restaurant.
Mm, mm. How do you choose a new site for a restaurant? You've got 30 restaurants across the UK and are expanding. So how do you go about choosing that new site?
We have certain criteria between me, my business partner, Sheikh Hanna, who is very, is the nerve center of the business, because I like to talk about things, and he does the things. He's the one who's he's an amazing guy. Together we work very closely. We have another colleague of us who's the head of our operations, because Conrad. We look at a site together because there's one thing we cannot afford to get it wrong, because obviously, unfortunately, restaurant is a very, very expensive game. And if you choose the wrong site, you can have the best design in the world and you're done, if that makes sense. So we cannot afford to get a site wrong. And sometimes, you can't help it. The best rugby player in the world can miss a penalty. Messi can miss a penalty, if that makes sense. Even us as experienced as we can be, we sometimes can choose the wrong site. But the right site has footfall, interesting, big frontage, good ceiling, flexible in terms of adapting our restaurants. Does it have an outside area? Is it a place where it's 7 days a week? Is it lunch and dinner? Is it all day? People say, "Oh, you're the only restaurant." Great, everyone will come to you. No, it doesn't work like this. Because we want the more restaurants there are, the more people will come to you, because you're promoting the destination. And and obviously it has to be the right rent, the right terms with the landlords. Nowadays, landlords are not landlords anymore, because they're the landlords and we're the tenants. Nowadays, it become a partnership. It's not you pay us the rent and goodbye. We bring something on the table, and they bring something on the table, and together we make something happen, because that's how we do it nowadays.
Yes. You mentioned there whether it can be, all day service or weekends or 7 days. Do you look for locations or venues that are already licensed?
License. Of course, it's important that we have venues that either are licensed or we can have a license. Because if it's a new scheme, we can license. We always a new location in the scheme. Usually, the scheme operator have the license in place. It's just a matter of applying for it through the lawyer. If there is a new location, nothing to do in the scheme, so we talk to our lawyers. What do you think the likely we get the license, and that's how we work. We work with the team. It's a teamwork, by the way. It's a very complex. I think we're restaurateurs. We make it sound easy from the outside. When people go on a Saturday night or on Sunday brunch, you see the whole restaurant open, everybody's hugging and kissing. But it's work, involves a lot of people. From your lawyer, from your accountant, from your gas meter, from your kitchen supplier, your milk supplier. In fact, we don't call them suppliers, to be very honest. We call them partners, because we work together in it. We grow, they grow with us.
Yes.
Everybody we work with is people who've been working since we had one restaurant. And we work together as a family. And for example, our meat and veg supplier, who's again is still our partner, we had one restaurant, now we have 30 restaurants. He's grown with us. And he's been buying the meat from a butcher, and you also grown with him. So it's like helping. We always have said we need to give back something. And that's how we work with people. We're very loyal to our team, our family, the team that work with us. We're very loyal with our suppliers and our guests. For us, we don't call them. We had the word customer. Our guests we're here for. And you said something. Look. You really have to love what you do. You really have to enjoy what you do, because that's what makes you wake up in the morning and I want to do it, even if it's dark and gray and stressful. You have to love it so much, because the more you love it, it shows. People, the guests feel the love. If that makes sense, they feel it on the plate.
It's interesting that because you have a very strong family oriented nature about what you do, and that's a sort of culture. That culture really rings through. I think that a saying that really summarizes what you described there is that a rising tide floats all boats. So you guys have all grown together. As you've grown, everyone who you've been partnered with has grown too.
Okay, I was brought up in Algeria as the oldest of 7 kids, and we did so much together with my brothers, mom, my dad. My brothers. We cried together, we played together, we fought, we ate from the same plate. And family is very, very, very important for me. I know no different, and it breaks my heart now. I have a brother and sister in Paris, a brother in Ireland, a brother in Algeria, and me and 2 brothers here. We're all dispatched in the different countries. It's people talk about family for me, family, that's what we live for. Anything happens in life, you turn to family. When it's bad, you turn to family. When it's good, you go to family to celebrate. And they're really the ones that are there for you. And in a lot of time at work, it's very, very important. And we want people to feel like we're the extended family. We want them to enjoy what they do, we want them to feel loved. And so the word family, it has a very strong, in my life, and I think in societies, it's very strong. Our, call them suppliers, but invite us to their homes. We invite them to our homes. We go out together. You need to have fun in what you do. There's no point you think you only have fun only on Friday night or on the weekend when you're not working or after work. For me, there's no after work. There's work all the way. 7 days work from the morning to the evening. So, but yeah, absolutely. Family for me is important, whether it's at home, whether it's outside, whether it's at work. And it feels great.
Yes. I guess it's also incorporating, from what I'm hearing there, it's also incorporating that fun element as part of what you do. Part of work is building those relationships. And if you're working with people that you really love, then you're going to have a good time.
Without a doubt. Look, there is respect, there is trust. And that, when you meet someone, you don't think, do I trust him? Do I respect him? From the beginning, you are who you are, and you spend time with people, you work with people, and you laugh with them, you enjoy. Because the more you laugh, the more you enjoy what you do, the better is the relationship, the closer is the relationship. And for me, it's very important that you have this very close relationship with the people you work with, because especially for me, I spend more time at work than home. My mother, when she comes to London, I see her more in I have a restaurant. One of the first ones. The first one called Levant. I have a smaller room there. It's like a little low seated room. It's like my living room. I spend, since I opened this first restaurant almost 25 years ago. I can tell you, I've been almost every day in the restaurant for 25 years, unless when I'm traveling. In this room, it's like my living room. So I spend all my time in the restaurant. So it's very important for me. The people that work with, they're like there's one of the chefs that work with me. I said, look, I eat from your hand more than I'm eating my mom's hand, because, that's how I like them, to make them feel that we're a big family. It's important for me.
Yes. The next question I'd like to ask you, Tony, is how are you making the transition from national to international operations?
Obviously, we already opened one in Holland, and we're opening another one, hopefully another one this year in Dubai, another one in Abu Dhabi. The transition is, to be honest, it's not as simple as it looks, because a lot of people, it looks very glamorous. Someone opening internationally, expanding, it's very hard work. It's very stressful, because it's a different country. You need to make sure you have the same suppliers, same ingredients, same this. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think, obviously it's very important. We are a very, very small team. Very small team. So when we open something, we don't open it on our own. We have partners that we work with. We always have local partners that are already established in their own country. They're already established. They know the law. They know the requirement. They know the team. They have infrastructure there. All we do is it's like we marry each other in their own country, if that makes sense. But they already have that whole infrastructure. Because what we do, we bring in our food, our recipes, our design, our know-how, our DNA, and then we go there, set it up, design it, set up the shelves, make it look like a souk, make it look like vibeful, give that experience, and spend some time there. And they run it themselves, because otherwise we cannot be doing it. Because this is what I said. It's because my friend, when he told me, "Oh, come and open in Australia," I said, "Dan, it doesn't work like this. It's very difficult. You open a restaurant, the other side of the world. It's not the other side of the road, the other side of the world, because restaurants it's not like a fashion store. You have everything is made in one factory, and then you just ship it over, and then it's the same product. A restaurant, you need to find the ingredients, and then you need to put them together, you need to cook them, and a restaurant is very difficult. So it's very important. When we open internationally, we have the right local partner who is very passionate. He has the same passion for our restaurant, for our food, and for the industry, because it's hard work. A lot of people want to ask me for mentoring or to mentor them or to open restaurants. Most of the time I tell them it's not for you, because it is not easy job. It does look very glamorous from the outside, but it's believe me, it is not glamorous at all. It's very hard work. So that's why I said the people that we work with internationally, they really have to have that passion. The distance makes it more challenging, but we work around it. I always say one thing, James: if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? That's how I say it, And you know what? Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes overnight. So you have to work on it, but you need to plan it properly. It takes time. You can't open a restaurant in 3 months. For me, restaurants takes 9 months for us to open.
The next question I'd like to ask you, Tony, is what are you learning about or exploring at the moment personally?
Personally or professionally?
Both.
Professionally, to be honest, it's professionally, I learn all the time. There's something new. There's always a new mistake you make, and you learn from it. From a different aspect, whether from a design, whether it's restaurant, whether it's the team you recruit. Personally, I look at. I never dreamt of doing what I'm doing today. Never. I started as a little boy back home when I was 8 years old, selling sandwiches or lemonades or ticket touting outside the football stadium. So I never dreamt of today having 30 restaurants and 1,000 people working with us, and opening all over England and now internationally. It was new ideas, meeting new people from different cultures. And for me, my challenge is also not a challenge. Is what it's about: letting people know better, get to know about our culture, and it's meeting different cultures or different cultures, and how can we marry both cultures together? So, and personally, of course, I mean, obviously, I look at myself and I say, why? I still ask myself, why am I doing all this? And it's because I love it. Look, my mother is a very, very humble lady. She looks at me and sarcastically says, "Why are you opening more and more restaurants?" And then she turns around and says, "All your brothers are children, and you give me restaurants. That's not what I want." So it's for me. I'm learning a lot about myself, about the people. Is about because a lot of people from the outside world, they look at you is in a different thing. Yesterday I met someone. And I said to him, "I'm really sorry. I kept you late. It's my 12th meeting today, and I have another. That was like 7:00 in the evening. I have another two to do after you." He says, "Oh, you have all this work, all the thought. You have people doing it for you nowadays." I said, "I'm really sorry. That's not how it works. I don't know business that works on its own. You have to be there behind it. The moment you stop, I think the moment you have, it's like a marriage. You're committed to it. It's you work. People look at you and as you're some sort of rock star, that they only see what they want to see. They only see you when you collect the Oscars, only when you collect the medal. They don't see what happens behind the scene, when you don't sleep, when you sweat, when you bleed, when you cry, when you stress, anxiety. But it's not for them to see that. But I learned a lot, because I always ask, why am I still doing that? It's because I love it. I keep learning this to myself all the time. It's That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me learning.
Yes. What innovative techniques or innovations have you seen in the industry while you've been working in it?
Phew. It's a very tough question, James, because I don't see its innovation as an overnight. It evolves, if that makes sense. It really evolves. It evolves a lot. You're talking about whether it's equipment, and it hasn't happened overnight. And you can feel it. It feels like you take it for granted. It's always been there. Innovation. It's for me. It's in the beginning, for example, when people start booking online, and I'm very old-fashioned. That's something and nowadays everything happens on apps, and people order before they come, and they order while they're in the restaurants, and that surprised me. All this, you go to a restaurant, it's like you go in someone's home and you don't know the host. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like before you go to the house, you just tell them, I want this, and when you go there, you don't tell them I want. It's like cut the conversation, cut that kind of hospitality between them.
Yeah. It cuts out the hospitality. It cuts out that personal nature about the industry, which is what hospitality is built on. So I wonder what's going to change and where things are going to go. And there's obviously a lot of food delivery, and the logistics of hospitality have really changed as well. So,
look, you just said it's a very important thing, James. You don't know where it's going to go. Yeah, you wonder where it's going to go. And let me tell you, in my opinion, you don't know what you don't know, right? We
absolutely.
20 years ago, have you seen Facebook come in? Have you seen it come in?
Yes.
No, it's like before Facebook come out. Has anyone saw Facebook come in? No.
No one saw Facebook coming
no one
at all.
come in. And if someone told you, James, I have this idea, give me $1,000, I want to invest on it, beforehand, would you invest on it?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't.
Because you think this guy's crazy. Has it changed the world? Yes, it has. You see, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, we're not even allowed to do that. Since some 7-year-old has a Facebook account, and someone who's like 79. This is brilliant. This is crazy. But it's changing the world. So that's why he says we don't know what's going to come. Yes, of course, the delivery is changing a lot. The delivery, to be very honest, between me and you, it's very, very bad for restaurant industry. It's very bad for society. Because I tell you what, I was brought up. It's like I was brought up with a generation that there's no mobile phone. Once I was a little bit, when I was younger, the old-fashioned phones and the black and white TV. And you know what I'm talking about this? And also was brought up with a generation where my mother was in the kitchen cooking real food. And imagine the millennials. They're going to say, I didn't see my mother cook, just deliveries. Either we went out for dinner or delivery.
That's right.
And that is, oh my God, it's sucking out. It's sucking out so much out of the, the human interactivity. And of course, if I took it from the restaurant industry, and it's really bad. It's really, really bad.
How do you think that's going to change restaurants themselves and even chefs and I suppose the industry from more of a standpoint that people are just wanting on-demand food delivery? Are chefs going to be higher paid, or with the fact that it'll be more difficult to for people that, well, not necessarily more difficult, but with the fact that people won't be as knowledgeable about food preparation, they won't have that experience going to restaurants. They'll just get delivery for food, and they won't know what the experience is actually like.
No. I'm not sure if people actually care. I think it's becoming nowadays to restaurants. You see people are on their phone. How many times you go to a restaurant, you see people spend time on the phone? Yeah, they're looking at their phone. I'm sorry, I have to. It's a bit like before the phone came up. It's like
all the time.
Me and you go to a restaurant. Each of us buys. You take your magazine. I take my newspaper. And while we're having dinner, we're reading the magazine and the newspaper. Does that make sense? That's how it feels. That's exactly how it feels. So nowadays, people are spending less and less time talking to each other, and which means going out does not change anything. So the delivery business is screwing, to be honest, the restaurant industry. That's I would come back into this. But people, that's what they do. It's convenient. They are at home. It's convenient. Yeah, it's convenient for them.
So how do we play alongside those trends? How do we take advantage of the changes that are going to take place?
Look, if I'm going to be very honest with you, I haven't sat down and thought what we're going to do about it. To do it yourself, deliveries is something else. It's different logistics. It's like it's another business, because you learn how to become a restaurateur, how to do this, how to cook the food, how to look, and then now comes out delivery. It's another business within a business. A lot of people tried it, they failed, and they joined the likes of Deliveroo and Uber Eat. And because they take a big margin, they take up to 35%. Some of those people out of restaurants. Do you know what is 35%? It wipes out the profit, and you can make loss, and it's unbelievable. So this is dangerous very dangerous for restaurants. And how do we do it? It's very difficult, James, because this is technology. This is the way the world. You have to be a chameleon. You have to be flexible in how do you adapt with technology. And in fact, your conversation now is making me think more about how can we do a delivery more, because I tell them delivery is very, very important. Because sometimes I look at it, I eat, I crave their food. If I'm far, or if I just get something, or I can't do it, if I'm sick, I order delivery. Sometimes I try other restaurants. I don't have to eat all my restaurants, and I get the food, and I said, it's not the same. What is not the same? Because they give you lousy packaging, because they don't present it the same, and they charge you the same price. And I tell the team, look, guys, make sure delivery is very important, because it's harder than serving in restaurant. In restaurant, it has the plate, it has the flowers, it has the lighting, it has the music, and people enjoy it. And that's what people pay the price for. In here, they just pay the thing. So you have to be very careful. Delivery, they're not paying for any of that. So you better make it in the right packaging, cook it well, don't just throw it. So a lot of people don't understand delivery business. Sometimes I'm confused, to be honest. No, the delivery is growing bigger and bigger. And sometimes I'm confused. You turn on your TV, there's a lot of cooking shows. And you open a newspaper, there's a new book. YouTube about cooking. And then there's delivery. It's like they're fighting each other. Does that make sense? They tell you more and more people are cooking, but then it says now more and more people are buying food takeaway.
Yes.
So
I think it's that people want to feel like they're doing it, but they're not actually do it. I think it's that inherently people are quite lazy, and we will try to find the shortest distance between 2 points.
For me, food,
and that they like to feel like they are cooking, and that they're learning, and that they're, by watching a cooking show, they're learning.
Look, for me, food, I was brought up with it, doing it. It's like sleep. Comes the day, and the end of the day, you go to sleep. In the morning, you wake up. Food is like this. At breakfast we have to eat. At lunchtime we have to eat, meet with the family, and in the evening it's the same. And I know no different. But nowadays, the cooking is changing completely. That's how I said, Mama, if I eat, someone has to be in the kitchen. It's almost like that completely is disappearing bit by bit. It's unbelievable. Because when you look at, for me, I look cooking as natural as going to sleep. Yeah, you can't say someone's going tomorrow, they're not going to sleep. That's inhuman.
And so then, obviously with more additives and preservatives and all these sorts of things that are then going to be added to the food to preserve it for longer, I suppose.
James, 100%. Nowadays, people, you see someone cooks at home, you look at them, wow, you cook at home. You met someone, I don't know, someone went to the moon. The people say, oh, I love cooking. I cook 2-3 times a week. People don't see that anymore. But you're absolutely right. When you say nowadays you go to buy a lot of food supermarket, look, don't get me wrong. I eat food from supermarket. I'm just as human as everyone else. Even though people think we have all these restaurants. However, when I look down behind the packet and see what they have, I says, oh my God. I think sugar, for me, this is where it's very difficult to solve some things because now everybody is becoming eating less. And first time I went to New York, I saw a kitchen. I said, "Oh my God, what is your kitchen?" It was like 1 square meter. And then I went to another friend of mine and says, "There's no kitchen." New York are one of the cities that practically scrap the kitchen. They have small kitchen. They don't cook. Everything is bought from the outside, and everybody's following suits. So, and what either people buy from delis, from restaurants, or from supermarkets. And when you cook at home, when you cook in a restaurant, you buy in the morning the product, the ingredients, and you make them the same day. But in the supermarkets, you have to have a longer shelf life. You have to have additives. They have to add all those kind of different things to it. And it tastes different. And they use psychology. They put sugar because sugar makes you addicted to it. And you don't taste the sugar, by the way. But there's sugar in there. And you don't taste the sugar. Next time you go and buy bread from the supermarkets, loaf, and you see underneath there's sugar. The amount of sugar is in everything. It's fizzy drinks. You get a fresh juice, but there's fresh sugar in there. It's unbelievable. I'm a huge believer in when people say you are what you eat. And unfortunately, I discovered this only a later stage of my life about that depending on what I eat, my mood is shaped up according to the food I'm eating the night before. It's unbelievable. It's really, really, I never understood that for a long time. I can eat carb, I go tired, I go this. I had to reduce carb dramatically, and I'm reducing as much as I crave the sugar. For me, sugar is the biggest drug in this world. And now you have it in normal food. That's scary.
Yes. Tony, I'd like to ask you what your creative process is, the steps that you take to make your ideas a reality.
There's no process, James. It comes out. I'm going to go and do something, create a dish, come out with a dish. I'm going to dress a wall. I write it down. When I get there, I do something different. But once I come out with something, a dish, and once we agree to it, everybody has to follow, if that makes sense, because otherwise everybody has to do his own way, if that makes sense. So it depends. And most of my ideas come when I don't think about them. If I want to think about something, it doesn't come then. It comes later. It's like you're looking for something you lost, and you only find it when you haven't got it. But you put it aside. You say, I'm going to use it later. That's exactly how it is.
So when do those ideas come to you? Because I know that a very common place that happens for people, that people get very creative, is in the shower, for example, or times that they're in solitude. So I know it's funny, but like even in the bath, like in the bathroom, like if they're on the toilet or shower.
Okay. I'm gonna make a confession. I'm gonna make a confession. I have 90-second shower. I never discuss my shower. I think for me, I shower very, very quickly. I shower 2-3 times a day. I don't spend like 10-15 minutes in the shower. So there's no thinking in the shower. Probably, I will win competitions for the quickest showers in the world, but I have 3 of them a day. Ideas come through different things, by traveling, seeing, reading, looking at things. And sometimes, like I remember once we were talking with to do something and to make everyone feel welcome and give you the ideas. Says no idea is bad idea. So you have to come out with ideas, things. And sometimes I'll write them down because I always come up with new ideas. It doesn't matter. It could be in a bus, it could be, but not always want to think about them, if that makes sense. And the best ideas are the ones that you come out along the way you're doing something and you park it and you write it down and you think about it. And then, I'm going to use it. It's like you have a house. If you move into a new house and you have to buy everything new, you're forced to buy all but if you're going to move into a house in a year or two, or along those years, you said, I'm going to collect things. I'm going to use them one day. And that how ideas is collecting, keep them aside. They don't come in any particular, they come in the middle of the night. A lot of ideas come from in the middle of the night. And then I just go to my notebook, I write them down. So you actually don't know. Ideas just come flow. I don't switch on the bottom, says this is a button, says this is now the ideas time. No, you don't know where they come.
Do you or have you had a mentor on your journey?
No, I didn't. I did not have a mentor on the journey, to be honest. And I'm not sure if it's good or bad. I made so many mistakes in my life. And the only reason I'm still here surviving in the business today, because there's 2 reasons. Because A, I'm hungry to succeed one way or the other, to do something with my life. And the second one is because it's also equally important. I did not have options. Yeah. If I had the choice, probably I could have. I can tell you that it has been very, very. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I've been down many times. I fall down on my face, but I pick up myself again. Clear myself from the dust, and I just keep going. But it's times that I was almost at a breaking point where if I had another option, I could have turned around to the other option and do it. But thank God I didn't. And this is a very tricky thing because I wouldn't call myself, I was brought up as a poor boy, but put it this way, it hasn't been easy, but I think that helped shape who I am today. I always tell people I was fortunate to be born in a very rich family from my uncle's side, my mom's side and dad's side, except neither my dad or my mom was rich. So I was brought up in between, they living the life. And he said, you feel that you are very different. And I think that made me hungry, made me determined. Sometimes you wear your clothes, the clothes that your cousin was wearing in you a year or 2 years earlier, if that makes sense. And that made me who I am today. And then when I was a little kid, I used to say, you know what? When I grow up, there's two things. I felt the complexity between, obviously I lived it. I didn't live it well. When my cousins come to my house or Rachel go to their house, a bigger house. And I felt like they are better or different. And when I was a boy, that age, 8 years old, I said, two things are not going to happen. I don't want my nephews to feel different than my kids. And definitely, I don't want my kids to live what I lived, if that makes sense. I don't want my kids. But 47 years later, 40 years later, you know what I think? I want my kids to live, one day I'm going to have kids, to live what I live. Because this is how you become a man you are. Because nowadays I see it, everybody, when I was a little kid, on days where there's no school, days off or weekends. If I leave the house at 8 in the morning, I don't go home. We will only go and grab lunch or grab a sandwich and leave again and play. And this is how life was then. Nowadays, everything has changed. Everybody's is at home. There's no street experience for the kids. Everything they learn is either in school or at home. And the best experience, I can tell you this, the best experience anybody in this world that made, it was on the street. You want to be street smart. You want to understand how real life is. There's home, there's school. And there's between home and school, there's the street. And this is, for me, that's what I learned everything, to be honest. That's my mentoring days. That's what I've learned everything from. Go and get it yourself. That's how, but of course, I admire a few people. There's a lot of people I admire. But I've learned everything on the street. My parents, they gave me a great education. Don't get me wrong. I've learned things at school. But it is on the street that I've practiced. I've learned more. I managed to do. That's the field. The street is the field. I get a lot of people asking me to talk to kids in schools. I really love doing that. I love doing that more than doing anything else because it's almost a one-to-one chat with people. If I have 10 people, 20 people in front of me, it's better than anything else for me, than giving an interview to a newspaper because I know these people. They look at their life and they look at me and they say, from the outside, they say, wow, this guy's on TV, he's on radio. He has 3 books, has 30 restaurants, he's opening more international. They look at you as he's like someone from a different world. But for me, I don't see it that way. People just say, when they talk, it says they refer to me as success. I don't see it as success. I'm in it. I'm still working harder now than I worked when I was 20 years old. What I'm trying to say is when I talk to these people, I tell them my story. I share my story. I clean toilets, I clean the bathrooms. When I came to London, I came with 70 pounds. I come on holiday. I borrowed, out of that 70 pounds, I borrowed 50 pounds from my uncle. I didn't give it back to him yet. I slept my first night in Victoria Station. The following 3 months, I was squatting. I got a job, 2 jobs, during the day and the evening, washing up dishes, cleaning the bathrooms, cooking breakfast, doing this, working in a hotel. And I want them to understand that there is no such thing as overnight. You need to have a goal in life. You need to be determined that you want to do something and go for it. Then when people say, "But it's different time," and I said, "No, don't, please. The time will always be different. It's different now for me. If I talk about myself, I could also say 30 years earlier was different. There's not just an excuse." And people say, "No, but we are, where we live, we are living in area." I said, "Look, for me, the poorer you are, the more determined you should be, the more encouraged you should be, the more ambition you should have to change things." Unfortunately, there's people, X Factor, Big Brother. And that's how they want to be. They want to be famous. They don't want to be. They don't want to work for it. I think it's an overnight. There's no such thing as an overnight. I really do not believe it's an overnight. The other day I was being interviewed. Someone says, "What was your break? Big break?" Well, I said, "I didn't have a big break because I've been doing this for." I've been doing restaurants for 25 years since I opened my first restaurant. But I was working in a restaurant 4 years earlier. But I was also selling restaurant when I was 8 years old. So therefore, that experience is a 40-year-old experience. It's like people talk about Picasso and says, "Oh my God, it took him a day to do this painting." Probably he was 60 years old. But it took him 60 years to think about that thing he did in a day. People always want to see what they want to see. Trust me, if I was holding a trophy, they want to see a trophy and what I was wearing. But if I was sweating and blood that was on the floor with dust, they're not going to even notice me.
That's right. And the problem is that they don't respect that journey. They don't respect the pain that then brings that success.
They don't understand it. You know what? You cannot understand something unless you've been through it. I'm really sorry. Nobody can tell you. It's like for me, I can't tell someone, a friend of mine lost his mother. I didn't tell him. I said, "I'm really sorry. I cannot imagine how painful it is because I'm dreading, God forbid something happens to my mother." Yesterday, also, I have another friend who lost his dad. And I called him. I said, "I know exactly how it feels. I lost my dad as well." So unless you know what it feels to go through something, it's very difficult to experience it. It's very difficult.
What's your biggest challenge right now?
Can I, you know what? Everything is a challenge for me. Challenge makes me work harder. Challenge makes me want to do more. If it's easy, it doesn't make me everything because there's unknown. The challenge is the unknown, James. It's what you don't know. Hey, look, I've been doing marathons. Have you heard? I'm doing a lot of marathons. I started by doing New York Marathon, London Marathon, and that wasn't enough. And then I started doing a marathon called the Marathon des Sables. I don't know if you heard of it. It's in the desert. It's 7 days marathon, 250 kilometers. All the food and all the clothes, and you sleep on the floor in the tent, in a Bedouin tent. And sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night with your face full of sand, with the wind, and this and that. The first time I've done it, what kept me going is the unknown. And the beauty, I've done it 4 times. And the beauty about this marathon, they change every year. They change the course. They change the location. So it's not every day the same. So this is a challenge. This is an unknown. And that's 7 days. You suffer for 7 days. You don't shower for 7 days. You sleep rough for 7 days. You eat dried food for 7 days. You can mix it with cold water. You carry everything, blisters, pain, crying. Look, you know what? When someone, I hate talking about money, but if someone has $500 in his pocket after weeks of work, trust me, you respect that $500 better than the person that won $2 million on a lottery, because you're not going to give it the same value. But the guy that earned it, the guy in the lottery, he doesn't value it. He doesn't feel that when he spends it, he has to give it value. He has to, when he eats that sandwich. When they make $2 million, they don't buy a sandwich. When they eat something out of that money that they bought from lottery ticket, they don't taste the flavors the same. Does that make sense? So always money that comes from hard work means something. And for me, to be honest, I hate talking about money. I'm not driven by money, but we need money in life for different reasons. And for me, whenever I had a little bit of money on the side, it's all about my mom, my family, my sister, my brother. I have a brother who's recovering from brain injury. He's 43 years old. He can't work anymore. He keeps me going, monthly basis. I look after him. And this is the pleasure of sharing. You come back. I think there's something that, there's something I don't like to talk about it, or I don't even think about it. What keeps me going, the pleasure, is about helping someone that needs it. At the moment, unfortunately, I have a brother, very close. He's recovering from brain injury, and he's dependent. He can't talk, he can't read, he can't write. His life turned upside down. But I want to give him back his independence. I want to make him happy again. But yeah, for me, if one day I decide I'm in a position to do it. I don't believe in buying materials, accessories. What I would love to do, because it's very easy for someone to buy a watch for $20,000. I'm not criticizing each person to whatever they do. I think the luxury industry will hate me for this, but I think if you have, someone can buy, a house for $10 million, a car for $100,000. But if someone gives $1,000, go to an orphanage and give it physically, take the money or buy things and give them to the kids and see that smile and see what it does to them, or go to old people's home with a lot of food on a Sunday, or in fact, you just cook for them. Where do you get the pleasure, more pleasure? When you drive a $100,000 car, or when you go and see an old person or an orphan who's vulnerable or someone sick? I think that's what I believe in. I believe this world will end someday. I think we need to give and help other people. And for me, that's where I feel a little bit selfish, to be honest. I'm trying to get my pleasure by giving other people something to get. But hey, better to do that than not help them. That's how I feel, And I look at old people and say, we're all going to get there one day.
Yes.
We're all going to get there.
Yes. My last question is, what's the next step for you, Tony?
It's a big question. I think for me, there's an element in me. There's two elements. The elements in me says, look, I think we're all human. You need to live a little bit for yourself. But the next thing is this, I want, in my own industry, in my own sector, I like to really take over the world in terms of Lebanese and Middle Eastern foods, to take it all over the world, all over. And I say very, very in a most modest way.
I love it.
Because I'm not saying McDonald's. I'm not saying whatever. I'm just saying it's our food, Middle Eastern food. I want people to eat it on a daily basis. When someone takes over with it, I want to enter people's home with our food, through our books. And this is one of the reasons I did the books, by the way, is to get people to understand. My book is about sharing memories of the food I was brought up with, but also get people to understand more and more about our food and culture. This is how I want to go all over. And one day, whether I open a restaurant, whether I help people open restaurants, I'd love to do that. This is obviously one of the reasons I do the books, is to give people a hand in hand to start cooking Lebanese and Middle Eastern food. Because in fact, Lebanese food, the Middle Eastern food, is simple, it's healthy. If you're vegetarian, you're way in heaven. If you're vegan, you're over the moon. And if you're meat eater, there's a lot of that there. There's sweet, and there's a lot of things. But it's a way of it's the way you can see the food. And even if you didn't have it, it says, actually, I want to have that. And when you look at this, it's very easy for me to make this food. It's actually not as complicated as you think it is. And it's for me, it's my dream is to, through obviously our restaurants and through when I'm talking to you now, it's all the way to Australia. I send a message. I don't have anything to sell, to be honest. I feel like I don't sell anything. I spread the love. I share the love of our food and of our culture. That's how I want to do it. I want the people in Australia listening to say, oh, I would like to try Lebanese food. I'd like to try a Lebanese restaurant in Sydney or Melbourne. That's how I like people to do. I like people to be curious about. And this is how I like to do things. And that's one of the reasons that, and I get a lot of people send me messages from all over. And I do, believe me, I have a lot of people from Australia sending messages, come on, open in Australia. And we have a lot of, I call them friends. I don't call them fans. I call them friends. Because for me, that's what keeps me going. That's another reason. When you have people sending you these messages, they keep me going. It's encouragement. It's like you're a sportsman on a football pitch when you're tired. They give you the extra boost, the extra energy. That's what they do for me.
Well, on that note, Tony, thank you very much for being on the show today. It's been an awesome chat. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, James. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The show today was produced by Angus Brennan. If you'd like to know more about Hospopreneurs, for advice, insights, and extra content, find us at hospopreneurs.com. Thanks for listening.